Hi everyone! Friends in my class were learning about space, and I had some astronaut books with me, so I'm going to help read some books about astronauts. I'll be reading some of this book in chapters, because this book has the book divided by chapters. So today I'll read 2 chapters, Brave Explorers and the First Explorers, and Moonwalk, so 3. Brave explorers. Astronauts are highly trained, brave men and women. They are dedicated to helping the world discover what is out in space and beyond Earth. This says, did you know? Astronaut comes from the Greek word for star and sailor. Since 1960, astronauts have traveled into space. The first manned flight in a space capsule lasted less than 2 hours. Today, astronauts live and work in huge space stations for months at a time. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, NASA, in the United States and the European Space Agency run 2 of the world's space programs. The first space explorers. At first, no one knew if space would be safe for people. Scientists decided to send animals into space and see how it affected them. In 1947, fruit flies became the first space travelers. They survived the trip, which only lasted a few minutes. In 1961, can you guess what animal went to space? You might have guessed it. A chimpanzee named Ham spent almost 17 minutes in space. Then his space capsule splashed safely into the ocean. Ham the Astro Chimp. Ham was trained to push levels inside the space capsule, and he succeeded. Yuri Gagarin inside the space capsule. That same year, Yuri Gagarin, a Russian cosmonaut, became the first person to travel into space. Can you remember what other animals we learned that went into space? This book mentions fruit flies, chimpanzee. We also learned that spiders went into space. Can you remember why? And we learned that other animals went into space. Let me know if you can remember them. Moonwalk. In 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon. He and 2 other astronauts traveled more than 238,000 miles. That's 383,000 kilometers from Earth to the moon in just 3 days. 1, 2, 3. The moon landing. The astronauts traveled down to the surface of the moon in a small crash landing craft called Eagle. Footprints made on the moon's surface will be there forever. There is no wind to cover them up. There is also very little gravity on the moon, so the astronauts felt weightless and they bounced above the moon's surface. That's one of the footprints. Famous words. Armstrong's first words on the moon. That's one small step for man and a giant leap for mankind. See the footprint on the moon. And we learned that they don't have a lot of gravity, and that gravity comes from the center of the Earth, as far as we know for Earth. So they don't know about gravity on the moon yet. Can you think of some other things? All right, that's the first 3 chapters of our astronaut book. Check in later for more videos.